All right, before we talk about the love languages, let's talk about what is love. Because in our culture, we kind of have a mixed up view of what love really is. Is it attraction? Is it infatuation, obsession, lust? Or is it more? Unfortunately, in our culture, love has been reduced to a feeling, and it's extremely self-focused. And that's a very shallow understanding of love. Now, Gary Chapman is the one who developed these 5 love languages. And here's what he says about love. It's our most basic emotional need is not to fall in love, but to be genuinely loved by another, to know a love that grows out of reason and choice, not instinct. I need to be loved by someone who chooses to love me, who sees in me something worth loving. That kind of love requires effort and discipline. It's the choice to expend energy in an effort to benefit the other person, knowing that if his or her life is enriched by my effort, I too will find a sense of satisfaction, the satisfaction of having genuinely loved another. This kind of love is not driven by infatuation or obsession, but by choice. This is real love. And that's really the definition of love in the Hebrew from the Bible. Okay, the Hebrew word for love is hesed, and it's a blend of love and loyalty. And it's translated in a whole bunch of different ways. It can mean kindness, it can mean steadfast love, loyalty, and faithfulness. So hesed, biblical love, is not just a feeling, it's an action. Okay, this is really, really important. So the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, and I'll just run through these, Meredith. You don't have to go through. I'm going to explain each one. But words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Those are the 5 love languages. Now, you all have gotten your results, I hope. Who was words of affirmation? That's me. Okay, so look around your room and in your group, words of affirmation people. So we love unsolicited comments, whether verbal or written, or words of appreciation. We just like to be appreciated with words, verbally or written. And a word of affirmation person can be emotionally devastated by things like sarcasm and harsh words and things like that. But we like to be affirmed, okay? Now, if you are a quality time person, what's really important to you is just being shoulder to shoulder with somebody, spending quality time with them. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you are fully present with that other person. So who was quality time in the room? Ah, you were. Okay, good, good. And everybody's going to be a combination of these, okay? You saw those percentages come through. So if you're a quality time person, it's going to be good for you to plan for quality time because you guys are so busy, right? So you have to plan to have that quality time so that you can be singularly focused without distraction. And a quality time person can be hurt by half-hearted interaction, you know, where you're talking to somebody and they're not paying attention, they're on their phone. It's probably the worst, right? Or they say, huh, what did you say? Or you say to them, did you even hear what I said, right? You can be really hurt by that because it sends the message that you don't love me. This is why these love languages are so powerful, all right? The next one is receiving gifts. Who had receiving gifts? Nobody in this room had receiving gifts. Okay, that might have been a secondary one. But a gifts person is really motivated anytime they get any kind of gift. It does not matter. That little candle that we had earlier that somebody didn't want, If I wrapped that up as a gift and gave it to a gifts person, they would be thrilled beyond measure because they received a gift. It can be something homemade. It can be something that you found, like a leaf. You know, you take a special leaf to a child and they think that's the best thing ever, right? And so they can be really hurt if there's a forgotten special occasion, like a birthday or an anniversary. If you forget to get them something, even something small, it doesn't have to be expensive, they will receive that as being unloved.
All right, let's talk about the acts of service love language. Acts of service is all about doing helpful things for another person. Things like setting the table, taking the dog for a walk, doing the groceries, or loading the dishwasher. The purpose of acts of service is to lighten the load of the one that you love. Loving service is a gift. It's done freely and not under coercion. And acts of service people can be really hurt when someone leaves a mess for them to clean up or they forget to follow through on a promise to help later on. Okay, what about the physical touch people? Someone with the love language of physical touch loves deliberate touch. Things like a hug or a kiss, or even sitting close while you're watching a movie, or holding hands, touching their shoulder, or touching their hand. For a physical touch person, a slap or any kind of abuse or neglect can cause extreme emotional pain, and that will be read as rejection. So you can see that these love languages all sound really wonderful. We would probably all love to receive all of them. But there's a little problem here. Husbands and wives, parents and children, and even two best friends rarely speak the same love language. We naturally reach out to other people using the love language that we prefer. So instead of using their love language, we're using our own. So even when both people go to extraordinary lengths to express love for the other person, it might not be received in the way that we intend.
When we discipline our children, it's really important that we don't discipline them using their love language. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. If you have a child whose primary love language is words of affirmation, if you yell and scream and belittle that child, they're not receiving that message as discipline, they're receiving it as rejection. Okay, so you have to respect the love languages when you discipline. So instead of yelling, screaming, and belittling, you're going to want to give just firm, positive guidance, okay? But you can see, you know, when Johnny has just kicked you in the shin, it's going to be hard not to yell and scream, right? So you're going to have to think about this in advance before you discipline your child. So it's time to think about this now when you're calm. Child with quality time. You might be tempted to tell them to go take the chair in the corner of the room and you face the corner of the corner as discipline. But what you've just done to that quality time child is you've isolated them and you're not looking them in the eye. So for that particular child, you would want to keep eye contact with them and say, Johnny, I know you're angry. Sorry. I know you're angry. I love you, but it's not okay to kick mommy. So your punishment is you're not going to get to watch Bluey for a week, okay? So, or whatever you come up with. But you wouldn't want to isolate that child or send them to their room because they read that as rejection and mommy doesn't love me. Same thing for receiving gifts. If you make a gift a bribe, which we all do, you know, if you don't be quiet in the back seat, we're not going to get ice cream. We've all done that, right? Or you destroy a gift in anger. that's going to be received as rejection. Don't want to do that. You got to come up with a different way. You're going to need to meet the emotional needs of that child, using all the love languages. You've got to do something different with that child. Now, that child might be okay to send to their room, all right, or have them in the corner, but not making a gift a bribe. Acts of service, children, if you demand that they do an act of service as a punishment, then this is not working. You're not developing them the way that they need to be developed. Instead, you can request an act of service, or you discipline them in another way. So do you see how you have to really think about this, and you can't discipline every child the same way because they're all different. God has created them differently. And finally, the physical touch child, you would never want to slap them or yank them. You've got to reassure them with a hug, all right? So if you want to know more about this, really the best thing that you can do is get some of these resources that I have on the screen coming up. The 5 Love Languages of Children goes into great detail about explaining the love languages and how to test your children to find out what their love languages are. It's a series of questions that you can ask them. You read the questions when you took the test. Would you rather do this or that? You're just going to be asking your children similar questions that are kind of more at their level. If you have really, really young children, you can determine this by having them draw some things. Or you can just watch them and see how they come to you for love. If they're constantly wanting you to play with them all the time, Mommy, come play with me, come play with me. When there's other things going on, that's probably a quality time child. When your child is coming up to you and touching you all the time, everywhere, that's probably a physical touch child. So just pay attention to the way that your child shows love to you, and then that should be a clue about their love language. The next resource up here is the 5 Love Languages card game. You can use that with your spouse, just on date night or at the dinner table or whatever. It's just got a lot of really great questions that, would you rather do this or that? And you can talk about that. And it helps you shape some of your date nights so that you are ensuring that you're filling their love tank and he's ensuring that he's filling your love tank. And finally, this family time resource is a little booklet that gives you ways to incorporate these 5 love languages into just everyday scenarios. Like if you're out on a hike, how can you do the 5 love languages with each child? So an activity, a single activity, and then how do you incorporate the 5 love languages into that activity? And they're all real simple, inexpensive ways to do that. So I just want to encourage you to think about the 5 love languages as you interact with your family. This can really build a strong marriage and can help your children grow up to be very loving children